guys, the 2025 Goodreads Choice Awards, the nominees, they're up. And I thought we could look at them together and you can see my reaction, but I have not read like any new releases, so I doubt I have read, at least this year, this year I haven't read like any, so I doubt I'll know anything about these books. But what I would like to do, and we'll see if I can read some of these, some of the nominees. I did that last year. I picked a few books from the categories that I was interested in and I read them and I enjoyed that so much. And I did have KU, so that was a little bit more possible, but let's take a look. Yeah, let me figure out how to screen record. Okay, let's look at fiction, and I'll try to do these fast because everyone's probably, also doing videos about these. Okay, this is the one I saw on Libby that I was curious about the names, and I don't remember exactly why. I feel like someone, maybe it was Sid Bookworm, she read this one. I would be curious to read, oh man, I didn't know this was a new release this year. Okay, I would be curious to read possibly the names, My Friends. I almost got this one on Libby. Wild Dark Shore, We All Live Here. Okay, I'm curious to read some of these. Oh, I'd have to see if I can get any of these on Libby. That might just be like a super long wait. But yeah, I haven't read any of these. I'm not super interested. Well, let me just look super fast at historical fiction. Oh, I would be curious about Atmosphere. Obviously, I'm looking at these super quick. I would actually need to read like the synopsis to see if I'm just judging them by their covers. I didn't realize that some of these were new releases. Oh, Ugly Beautiful or Beautiful Ugly. I almost got this one on Libby too. I've never read of Alice Feeney or a Holly Jackson, I don't think. Or a Freida McFadden, but I know that there's some controversy about her books. Okay, I would be interested to read Beautiful Ugly. Okay, we're a mystery thriller. Romance. I've been thinking a lot about romance and what kind of romance reader I am. Because I do think I like a love story or like fiction that has romance aspects to it, but like this series, the Lori Gilmore, stuff like this, I'm not going to read. But I read a Carley Fortune and I did like it. I actually think about that book because I feel like it was more about like growing up, and it wasn't just a silly romance. I felt like it was a lot about life, and yes, falling in love, but there was just more to it than what I feel like these silly ones, or maybe not that one, I don't know, but some of these I know are just silly romances, and that is not me at all. Romantasy. Oh no, unavailable. I'm almost out of coffee, I need to make more. Oh, my Wi-Fi is going slow. Okay. I mean, I have read Onyx Storm, but I would not vote for it. I did not like that book. I want to read the not Book of Eli. This series. This is book 4 of Gods and Monsters. I have the first one. I've been interested in it. Oh, this one I would be interested to read, The Shield of Sparrows. I have Alchemized on my Audible, but I don't know if I'd be able to read that before the voting is over. I've been curious about Dire Bound. I've also been curious about Silver Elite. I feel like when that came out, I was like, oh, I'm gonna really like this, because I think it was kind of described as like Divergent, and then I feel like it got a lot of bad reviews from people that I follow. So I was like, well, okay, maybe not. But I would, if I am going to read some of these, I would consider it. Fantasy. I mean, okay, this is a category I feel like I would really need to read synopsis about these books, not just what I've heard other people say about them, or just judging them by their covers. Because like I know that I want to read the first book in this series, but this is the second one, so I can't read that. I've been curious about Water Moon just because, I mean, look at the cover. This one, I feel like I've seen people read this one and have good things to say about it. Brandon Sanderson, I can't read that one. Well, okay, this one I don't know. I would have to do more research if I were to pick one from there. That's interesting. I don't know. Some of those choices seem kind of weird to me, just based off what I know about some of them. Fiction. Science fiction, sorry. Oh my gosh, I have this one on my, I want to buy this one, The Dream Hotel. This sounds really good. I want to own a physical copy though. Oh, okay, this is one I want to read that I didn't know came out this year. I don't know anything else about the rest of these. Oh, I've heard good things about this one, but this is the one I want to read, The Dream Hotel. Like, I'm going to read that. I don't know if I'm gonna read it before I can vote for it. Horror, I want to read When the Wolf Comes Home. I'm curious about the Rachel Harrison Play Nice, even though I feel like I've heard bad things about it. I want to read so many of these. Okay, one that is on my, that I've been eyeing is the Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I didn't know that came out this year. I have not kept up with new releases this year, like at all. This would be a hard one to decide. Oh, Darcy Coates. I didn't know this was a new release. Okay. This one I would have to really try to narrow down which one, because I would want to read too many of these. I'm not, well, let's just look at debut. Okay, we're almost at 10 minutes. Come on, come on. Okay, we're just gonna skip that one. Let's look at young adult fantasy. So the one I really want to read is Sunrise on the Reaping. I've been curious to revisit this series. I've read the first 4 books, but obviously I won't. This is, oh. This is, I guess, a new story in this same world? Book 1? I would still want to finish the other ones first. I don't know if I would read Sunrise on the Reaping before I could vote for any of these. So I don't know. I'd have to look into these a little bit more. I don't think I would pick anything in young. No, I wouldn't do young adult fiction. Let's just look at nonfiction. See if... No. All right, that's exciting. So there are definitely some books on here that I have my eye on. Okay. Now how do you stop screen recording? All right, I have a list of the books that I would love to get to that are part of the Goodreads Choice Award nominees. There's so many books I want to read though. So the first one being My Friends, for fiction, My Friends by Fredrik Backman. I would love to also read Wild Dark Shores. I didn't realize that's the same author that wrote Once There Were Wolves, which I started but didn't finish. But it's probably gonna have to be one per genre. For mystery thriller, Beautiful Ugly, but it's not available yet, by Alice Feeney. For romance, One Golden Summer by Carley Fortune, since I have read a book by her and did enjoy it. For romantasy, I've chosen Shield of Sparrows, which I don't think is available yet either. I have 2 weeks wait. Man, that was like just available on Libby and I almost got it and then didn't, and other people picked it up. I also have Alchemized on here, but I think that's gonna be too long to commit to this list. And Direbound, I would like to read that, but it's also not available on Libby, so. I don't have a book for fantasy. I wanna look at the list again, but that's the subject, the genre that actually interests me the least. So I don't know if I'm gonna pick one for fantasy, which is crazy. And then for sci-fi, I have The Dream Hotel, which is available right now, but I want a physical copy. I don't know if I'm gonna pick that right now. And then I also, but what I do have, but another one that I would like to read, which I have a 2-week hold for, is the Book of Lost Hours. It said in like the description, for people that like The Dream Hotel, and another book that I haven't read, but it said The Dream Hotel, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that book. Like, that book is like a really important book to me, so I have a hold on that one. I'm first in line. And then for horror, I want to read so many of those, but the one that is available on Libby is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, which I already borrowed from Libby and returned it because I ran out of time. I realized I wasn't going to get to it in October, I think, but I would like to read that one, and it is the one that's available. I really want to read the one by, oh, what's his name? By Nat Cassidy, the werewolf one. And there are others, but this is the one I'm gonna choose. And we'll see how many I'm able to get to. I really want to read Sunrise on the Reaping, but I don't know, in my brain, I'm like reading that next year. I guess I could put it down as a maybe, but I just don't think so. And then I didn't even really look into the others here because, I don't know, I just feel like I'm more interested in the other genres other than that one, but I don't know. I just don't know if I'm gonna get to that one. So I have my list. I actually started using this book for work because like I just need to get my YouTube life in order. I need to plan, and like I need a planner for YouTube and Instagram and everything, so I started using this, and I have my list here, and I already have some that are borrowed on Libby, so I'm so excited. I loved doing this video last year. It was so much fun, and I read some books that I really liked, specifically in horror. I remember really liking that book, so I'll let you guys know if any of these change, but like I feel like I had to do this so fast. I was like looking up the nominees and immediately went on Libby to just grab the ones that are available, but they are subject to change. They might change, we'll see, but this is the plan for right now. Okay, it's later, it's the afternoon, and I chose my first book for the reading vlog. I chose Carley Fortune's One Golden Summer because I read every summer after in the summer, in August, I think, and I liked it. So I just got a big surprise in this book that I didn't know. In this book, we're following Alice, who is a photographer in Toronto, and she is gonna take her grandma to this cabin on Lake Barrie, which I recognized from the first book. I know that Carley Fortune is from Toronto, and it seems like all of her books take place in Ontario, like on a lake, which I think is cool when authors kind of write their books from like the places that they live, like all of their books. So Alice and her grandma, who's recovering from a fall, they're gonna stay in this cabin and be by the lake. I think I said she's a photographer. She's a freelance photographer who just did a job that she's not really happy with. They're staying in this cabin, and the handyman, who's very charming, he takes care of the cabin. He let her know, like, let me know anything you need for the cabin for your grandma and I'll take care of it, because he takes care of the cabin, and people like stay there. And that's the love interest. And he's very like funny, fun, very charming and kind of cocky. And she's a little bit more reserved, and she runs into one of his friends, the handyman. She runs into one of his friends at like a grocery store or something, and he said, have you been to Charlie's family's restaurant? His brother Sam just sold it. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is connected. This is after the other book. So I guess if you haven't read the first book, now we're following Charlie. In the other book, we were following Sam, and Charlie was in that book too, but now I think it's gonna be like Charlie's story. And at the beginning of this book, our protagonist Alice says that she took a picture of 3 younger kids. I think they were kids, they were teens or kids at the time, that were on the lake. It was 2 boys and a girl. Those are the characters in the book she wrote last year, Every Summer After. It's like, oh, it's all like tying together. I wondered who these people were going to be that she took a picture of, and because she recognized one of the boys. She's like, oh, this is one of the boys that I took a picture of when she was younger, and that photo got her into photography. And it is Charlie, who was in the other book. And the character makes sense because he was very much like this, very like flirty in the other book, whereas Sam, the brother, was very like quiet and reserved. So when I found that out in the book, I was like, I have to stop and like do an update right now. I am almost 100 pages in. I have to do a lot of reading if I'm gonna read all of these books. So I think that's interesting. I think I might like this. I like that they're tied together and that it's in the same area of Ontario. My mom's from Ontario, so I was asking her, like, have we been to this lake? And I don't think we have, but I like it. I like where it's like set, and like hearing about Toronto too, because I've been those places many times. But I was looking at my list of books, and I think I might change the thriller because the one I want, the Alice Feeney one's not available. So I'm still like working on my list. And I was looking at all the sci-fi books. I want to read all the sci-fis. I like click on each one and they all sound really good, and like none of them are available on Libby. So we'll see which books end up being finalized, but for sure I'm reading One Golden Summer and My Friend. For sure those are locked in. But the other ones, I'm still trying to see if I can switch some around or which ones are going to be available. But the book's going good. I like Carley Fortune's writing. These romance books, at least the one that I've read, it just wasn't silly, and that's what I liked. And not like terribly like spicy. That's something I don't like in romance either. Not that I remember, like that wasn't to me the like point of the other book that I read by her. I was kind of thinking about it. I feel like, and this might be a very bad comparison, but I kind of feel like Carley Fortune's book remind me of like, they kind of remind me of like Nicholas Sparks books. That like kind of romance, like The Notebook. That's what these remind me of. Not, I don't know, not silly or like too much, you know what I mean? At least so far. That's how I felt about her other book. I mean, it is a romance, but that's my comparison of like, because I've read Nicholas Sparks' books a long time ago, and I just kind of feel like that is a good comparison in like my mind. But I'm gonna keep reading. I would love to finish this by tomorrow and pick up the next one. Like, I wanna try to finish maybe a book a day, if possible, but we'll see. But I won't have any of these physically to hold up, and that bugs me. Reading update. I finished my first book from the Goodreads Nominees first round, and it is Carley Fortune's One Golden Summer. That's what it's called, right? Yeah. I didn't like it as much as Every Summer After for a few reasons. The first reason being it was too long. It was a 400-page romance. I think that's too long. This one is 300 pages and this felt perfect. It did not, in my opinion, need to be 400 pages. It felt too long. I also did not feel anything in this story. This one felt very nostalgic, of like, in this one, we follow her from like preteen to her late 20s, I think, Percy and Sam, and we follow them as they grow up, and there were certain things that she would feel or say, insecurities, and I was like, oh, I remember being 13 and feeling this exact thing that she's feeling. So it had so much more emotion to it. And I preferred it was a second chance, this one's second chance, which I'm not like super fond of, but you just felt more in this one. There was more emotional. This one just made me like feel things. It made me feel emotional. I didn't cry, but I liked that aspect of this book. One Golden Summer just felt like more of a typical romance. It did not make me feel any emotions. She goes to the lake, she falls for the guy there, but he's kind of closed off, but still really likes her. I thought that it was going to be sad. It was like leading up to what I thought was going to be a very sad ending. And I guess, spoiler, it's not. I thought it was gonna pull at my heartstrings so much more. Like, my favorite thing about this book was not their connection, it was her connection with her family, like her siblings, and then her connection with her grandmother. Like, it was the other relationships in the book that I enjoyed. Or Percy and Sam, the couple in this one. Like, I liked hearing from Percy more than Alice, who is our protagonist. I did like that she's a photographer though, and at one point she does film photography, which I love. So she was talking about her process and I was like, oh my goodness, that I remember doing that. But I just didn't feel like she was a super unique character. Charlie was more interesting because he's like funny, and he knows he's very handsome. He's very charming and quick-witted, and I think he's a very quick wit. And so I enjoyed his character, but didn't really care for their story. I also think that this one had more spice than this one. I could be wrong. I don't remember it as much in this one. So like, I skipped a chapter that I was just kind of like, and then, yeah. So I didn't really care for the spice in the book, but I would just prefer closed door for her character to be a little bit more complex and for the book to be shorter. It doesn't sound like I like this book very much. I'm gonna give it 3 stars, but I'm almost wondering if that's a little too generous. I did enjoy that I could listen to this one and it not be something like I listened to this one too. They're very easy to listen to. I enjoyed that, but I just think that this one was better and this one was not very emotional and just didn't feel special to me. That's how I felt. It didn't feel special. So the next book that I'm going to read, I'm gonna like kind of switch gears because I also read a kind of romance before this one by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm gonna read thriller mystery from that genre, and I'm gonna read Heartwood by Amity Gage. I think this is about a woman that gets lost in the woods and has to survive, and there are people looking for her. I believe that's what this one is about. I was originally hoping to get Alice Feeney's Beautiful Ugly. I think I said I haven't read an Alice Feeney before. I have. It's right here. And I didn't like this book. So I was thinking like, oh, this could be my first Alice Feeney, and I feel like I've heard good things about it, and I was like, oh no, I have read an Alice Feeney that I didn't like. So I'm not gonna read Beautiful Ugly. It's not even ready like for me to read on Libby. So, and I'm really hoping I like this one and that it's really fast paced. I want that right now. So I'm going to start that one and I'm gonna go cook dinner. Okay, we did a book swap because I started Heartwood by Amity Gage. However, it has 4 POVs. And I knew I wanted to listen to this one, like solely listen to it. This is the mystery thriller. I don't want to follow 4 POVs in an audiobook. It felt like too much work to try to follow 4. That just seemed like too much. So I decided to switch it for a Freida McFadden book, The Crash. I know that there's controversy about her books. I've never read one, and I'm gonna try it. or I have started it. So I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm 56% of the way through. I do not like the narrator's voice, but I can't listen to this one on Speechify, which have the voices that I like. I have to just listen to the audiobook on Libby because there isn't like a book version on my Libby. In this book, we're following Tegan, who is 8 months pregnant. She is on her way to her older brother's house to stay there for a little while because something has happened involving the baby daddy that did not go as planned. Some like legal stuff. So her brother was like, why don't you just come and like stay with me for a while so he can like help her. She's on her way to his house when she gets in a car wreck and a man helps her, like takes her to his house. And at the house, it's the man and his wife, who is a nurse, and our protagonist Tegan is realizing that she's not able to leave, but not for the reasons that she thinks. We are following two point of views. We're following Tegan's point of view and the nurse's point of view, but I kind of wish we were only following Tegan's and that it was a little bit more of a mystery. I think that would have made it more suspenseful if we were not following the other person's perspective. It's fine so far. I'm not like super captivated by the story. It's fine. And last night I started Fredrik Backman's My Friends. I'm tandem reading this one. In this book, we're following a 17-year-old girl who, it starts off with her in an art gallery. She wants to see this painting. She's kind of like an artist herself, like a graffiti artist, and she is a foster child who's had a kind of difficult life. And so we're gonna follow her story, it seems. Like it starts off with her, but then not very long into her story, we're starting to follow the story of the artist who painted the painting that she went to see. I have a feeling that this is gonna be kind of sad because I think the artist's life, we go back to when I don't know how old he was. I think he's a teenager, like when we jump back to his point of view, and he's just titled, like his name is The Artist, and he has his really close friends. And there have been little breadcrumbs suggesting that this will be pretty sad. So I want a book that makes me feel something, since the Freida McFadden one isn't really making me feel the thrill and suspense, and then the romance didn't make me feel sad or didn't pull up my heartstrings. So I'm hoping that this one does. I really hope that I like this book. I mean, I hope I like every book that I read, but I've heard really good things about Fredrik Backman and really good things about this one specifically, so I'm trying to read this one a little bit like slower. That's why I wanted to tandem read it and listen to the thriller at the same time. Since they're very different genres, I thought I could read them at the same time. Normally I just like to read like one book at a time so I don't get them mixed up, but these are very, very different. And the audiobook, I'm actually listening at 3 times speed because it's totally like doable to listen at 3 times speed. I don't think it's going to be a super memorable thriller. That's my prediction right now. I'm hoping that this one is really memorable, but I think I'm only 50 pages into My Friends, and then I might have already said this, but I'm over 50% of the way through The Crash, which I want to finish today. I have 4 hours left of the audiobook, but at 3 times speed, not 4 hours. But that is my update. I really like my spread. I went with like this blue theme, but I did leave the thriller and the sci-fi blank because I don't know which book I'm gonna read for the sci-fi yet. And then for the mystery thriller, now I can print out the cover for The Crash because I'm for sure gonna finish it, and that can go in this spot. But for the sci-fi, I still haven't decided. And then I wrote out like my review for One Golden Summer, but I wanted to do it in pencil first and then go over it with pen so that I didn't mess up. But I'm glad I have like a page to document reading these 6 books, but very excited to continue with my friends. I've been enjoying reading at night and using my tablet to do that because, you know, I don't want to have the light on if other people are asleep. It's so easy to read in bed, and I would much rather do that than scroll on my phone like that. This is what I've been doing instead of doom scrolling, so that makes me happy. But I've been editing all morning. I'm gonna continue to edit and continue to listen to the crash. You guys, this book, it has made me tear up 3 times. I've highlighted some stuff. This book is giving me what I wanted, and I wanted to come on here before I finish it because I'm on page 350 and I'm 80% of the way through. I think this book is gonna break my heart. It's so sad and so heartwarming at times, and I think as a teacher I have such compassion for these kids. The kids that we're following, they're in 8th grade and they all have such hard lives, and it's awful. In this book there is an art teacher that is awful to the artist, and I was like, oh my goodness, no, the art teacher should be encouraging this kid and not like bringing him down, and I felt so frustrated with the art teacher. There's one of the characters in this book that's my favorite, Jor, and in the book one of the friends is explaining just how misunderstood he was as a kid because he had it so tough at home, but everything he like did which adults saw as wrong was like him protecting his friends and protecting his mother. And as a teacher, when you have students that are sometimes very difficult to deal with, sometimes you do find out why that might be the case for that kid. Like, what's going on at home, stuff like that. And sometimes you don't, but you have to, I think, as a teacher, have this compassion for these kids, because you don't know what's going on in this kid's mind. You don't know what's going on in their personal life, and this poor kid, like, he has it so bad, but he's such a good friend and a great son to his mother. And this book is making me feel all the emotions, which is what I wanted. I wanted a good book, and so far this has been so good. And I'm glad that I've taken it slower with this book, really trying to like absorb the information. I've been tandem reading it, so I've been enjoying it so much. So that's my update for My Friends. I'm gonna finish it today. I only have like 100 pages left, I think, maybe a little less than 100. On another note, I finished The Crash by Freida McFadden. Is that her name? Oh my god, awful book. Like, this is a thriller. It might be the worst, I think it is the worst thriller I have ever read. There is nothing about this book that was thrilling. It was so terrible. Nothing was like a surprise, nothing was exciting. There was no thrill. I cannot believe that this is one of the nominees, that she has 3 nominees on this list. It's the first Freida McFadden I've read, and so unimpressed. Like, I cannot believe it. And after reading it, I was looking at people's comments, and of course, you know, people have different opinions. Some people love it, but I was interested in the people that hated it, and they were like, where was the thrill? Like, and I was like, yes, there was nothing thrilling about this book. It was so bad. Yeah, definitely will not be voting for that. It sounded good, like this pregnant woman kind of being held hostage, and we know why now, but that was the premise. Like, we don't know why this pregnant woman is being held by these people. It was so bad. I can't believe it. If you want a thriller, read Intensity by Dean Koontz. You have to put this like down, because it's so much. It's so exciting and so thrilling that it's like overwhelming. The only Riley Sager book that I have not read is his newest one, the one on the train, With a Vengeance. Patsy has the zoomies, so she's screaming in the background. But literally every Riley Sager book is better than this Freida McFadden book. Even the Riley Sagers that I don't really like so much better. Like, I feel like for a thriller, my expectations are like higher for a mystery thriller than like the romance. Like, I just kind of expect a romance to be bad. But for a thriller, I have higher expectations. Like, it should be exciting. There should be some mystery. There should be some thrill. And it just disappointed me so much. Betsy! She refuses to come in, so she's just screaming in the hall, and when I go to try to get her to come in, she sprints away from me. So I'm going to finish My Friends, and then I did switch the fantasy because I was going to read the romantasy. Shields of Sparrows, because I just heard that everyone loved it, but I read that it is enemies to lovers, and I cannot do that. I just DNF'd an enemies to lovers and read an enemies to lovers before that. So no, I do not want to read that romance trope. So I'm not gonna read a category in the romantasy genre. I'm gonna read a fantasy instead. And I'm reading The Sirens by Emily Hart. I don't know anything about this book. I'm just assuming that there are mermaids. I don't think I've read anything by this author, but I was able to get it on Libby. Mermaids sound cool, but that's the update for now. I'm gonna finish My Friends and then start on the fantasy, and we'll see. I'm skeptical of the fantasy, so, but I could see My Friends being a 5-star. It is Wednesday and I have a reading update. I finished The Sirens last night. Don't recommend this book. I don't know why it's in the fantasy genre. The amount of like fantasy in this book was like a sprinkle. With it being called the Sirens, you would expect mermaids. The mermaid part of it was like the last chapter of the book. So there was like no mermaids in the book. In this book, we're following two sets of sisters. A set of sisters in the 1800s that were taken from Ireland to Australia. And I think at the beginning of the book, the author was saying that this is like, this actually happened, I think. Like some of it is based on like true events of like these women that were, part of it is like true. It's like historical fiction of like people being like taken to Australia in the 1800s, like against their will. And then we're following two sets of sisters in 2019. There's suggestion that like there's something kind of, I don't want to say wrong, but something different about these sets of sisters, suggesting that they are mermaids. It's pretty like obvious, but there's just like I said, it's like the last chapter of the book, and I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but I was so like just waiting for mermaids, and then it was like hardly there. The book had like no plot for like the majority of the book, and there was also another art teacher that was a terrible art teacher. Like, what's up with these two books that I've read where the other art teacher was like just negative and like brought his students down, like bad in that way, and this other art teacher, he was a bad art teacher in a different way, and I was just like, what's up with these art teachers? And the other thing I really didn't like is that at one point one of the sisters like fully reads her sister's diary and she justifies it, but I was like, man, that's like such an invasion of privacy. Like, you already went through like her whole house and then you read her whole diary. That's not right. I gave it 2 stars. I would not have read this had it not been on the Goodreads Choice Awards list. And had I not been making this video, I probably would have DNF'd it because it was not a good book. The next book I'm gonna read is The Book of Lost Hours. I have really high hopes for this one because it says for the lovers of the Midnight Library, which I loved, and the Ministry of Time, which I haven't read but have heard good things about it. This says that we're following 2 remarkable women moving between post-war and Cold War era America and the mysterious time space, a library filled with books containing the memories of those who bore witness to history. So that sounds really interesting. Like, this is something that I would have like picked up even if it was not on this list. I just have never heard of it. And then Witchcraft for Wayward Girls is, it says there's power in a book. They call them wayward girls. Loose girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to the Wayward home in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret. And then they give them up for adoption. I've heard that this is sad, and I think this is more like the horror of real life, like things that actually happened to these girls and the horror of it. So and this is another book that I picked it up earlier in the year. I didn't know it was a new release, but I heard good things about it and I just didn't get around to it on Libby, so I did return it. So when I saw it was on the list, I was like, oh, well, now I for sure want to read it. So I have higher hopes for these two than the fantasy. I was, yeah, very disappointed by fantasy. And the thing is, I feel the same about this book that I did the fantasy book I picked last year for this video. Like, the fantasy genre, I picked a book that I felt should have been more in historical fiction or just fiction. It didn't have a lot of like fantasy elements to it and was very forgettable. So like, yeah, that's how I feel about this book. So I don't understand why it's on this list. It definitely should not win. But I'm gonna start those two, and I think I might read them at the same time because they're gonna be very, very different books. But that is my update. Well, I just DNF'd Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, which is a shame. I got halfway. But there is a scene in this book that as a Christian, I immediately was like, oh, no, I'm not gonna read this. I guess maybe I should have expected it. It's a witchcraft, like, witchy book. I don't know that I've read a witchy book. Like, I love horror, but there are some things in horror that I just don't read. And stuff with, like, the devil. Stuff like that, like, kind of evil, I don't read. So, that kind of ruins my plans because there's, like, no other options on Libby that I can read. The only one that I would be able to read is Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, which I was not like super interested in. It's a historical fiction horror with vampires. I've never read a Stephen Graham Jones, so that kind of makes me a little interested, but this was not on like my radar. And I have to wait 2 weeks unless the person currently reading it from Libby returns it early. So I may not be able to read a horror for this vlog, which is crazy because that's like my genre. But we'll see. If the person returns it early, then I might be able to still read a horror for the Goodreads Choice Award nominee list from the list, but I might not be able to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the sci-fi. Yeah, I'm gonna start with the sci-fi, but man, to get halfway through a book and then DNF it when I'm like reading so much for this video, it sucks. Like I'm reading and reading and reading so that I need to finish these books. That's okay. I just don't agree with something in the book, and maybe just witchy books are not for me, maybe. That's okay. I'm really looking forward to this sci-fi. The whole sci-fi list was really interesting, so. Man, I wish more of the horror were available on Libby, but they're just not. Whatever. Okay. We'll see if I want to read any more today. I've already read so much, but if I do read, maybe like tonight before bed, it will be the sci-fi. Sorry, I look pretty tired because I am. I'm just now having my coffee. It's very good. You guys, I'm reading the Book of Lost Hours by Hayley Gelfuso? I'm terrible with names. This book is so good so far. I'm 240 pages in. I love it. I'm so captivated by the story. There is time travel. There's a love story. There's a mother-daughter relationship. I love the time period that this is set in. Like at the start of the book, it's like right at the start of World War II. And we're jumping kind of back and forth in time. Well, we're jumping back and forth in time in different ways, but from the past, so like the hold on. The past from like the start of World War II to like the 50s, and then to the present day in the book, which is in the 60s, I believe. But I love the time travel. It's so cool. Like the time traveling is so unique, and we really like our main character. Something really big just happened in the book. Like I am enjoying this so much. I'm predicting that this is going to be a 5-star. I really hope so, because I don't think we've had a 5-star yet. Let me check. No, we have not had a 5-star. In fact, I've had some really low ratings for this video. My Friends was almost a 5, but not quite. But this one, with how much I'm like enjoying it so far, I'm hoping it has a really good ending, and I think it's gonna be a 5. But I'm over halfway through. I think I'm 60% of the way through this, and I plan to finish it today. That's the goal, and then to wrap up this video. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But I'm gonna continue to read. I really, really like it. All right, you guys, it's time to wrap up this video because I'm starting to forget which books I've actually talked about. So let's wrap this up. The first book that I read was Carley Fortune's One Golden Summer, which I gave 3 stars. Ooh, I might have dropped that rating actually. I think I actually ended up giving it 2 after the fact, but I didn't really think this was a good book. Felt very typical romance, nothing special. Then I read My Friends? No. Then I read The Crash by Freida McFadden. Terrible book. I don't know how this is on the nominee list. I don't see myself picking up another Freida McFadden. Worst thriller ever. I probably should have just DNF'd it, but I wanted to finish it for the video, but I have no idea how it's on this list. Then I read My Friends, which I don't think I ended up wrapping up. It was a good book. Good book, made me emotional. I liked that it was about like art and an artist and friendship. Like, oh, it was good. Just, I could not give it a 5. I don't know why, but like rating books, it's a gut thing, and something was just, it just was not a 5 in my heart. I kind of felt like if I finish this book and I feel like I have to have a physical copy of it, like this book was life-changing, it was so good, I have to have a physical copy of it. That's what kind of made me feel like, is it a 4.5 or is it a 5? I don't think it's a book that was like life-changing. I do think it was very good. I do think it deserves to be on this list. But it just wasn't a 5. I don't know, I couldn't give it a 5. But it's still really high, like 4 to 4.5. I'm still going back and forth. Probably a 4.5. Then I read The Sirens, which was another bad book. It should not be on the fantasy list. I don't feel that it is like a fantasy. I think it should be in historical fiction possibly, and I just don't think should be nominated at all. There's no way it's going to win, and I mean, maybe that's why I haven't like heard anything about it, and I don't think it was a good book. Then for the horror, I guess I haven't been saying which genres. I read the romance, mystery, thriller, fiction, fantasy. Then for horror, I read half of Grady Hendrix, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. Just was not for me. I can see why people really like it. I think it had potential to be a really good book, like in my eyes, because I think it was going to be a lot about like family and motherhood, and I felt for these girls that were in this house, but just was not for me. So I DNF'd it. It doesn't have a rating, but I could see why people would really like it. Then today I did finish the Book of Lost Hours. It was so good. It had a good ending, and that is for sci-fi. I did end up rating it 5 stars. I'm gonna leave it there for now. I might lower it to a 4.75. I'm trying to decide, but right now I'm gonna say it's a 5. I love the time travel. We're time traveling 2 different ways. It was so beautiful. Like this place that you time travel from is very, like, I feel like I can see it so clearly. There is a love story and mother-daughter relationship, and they were both so like beautiful and like heartbreaking as well. And there were times in the book where like I was surprised that certain things happened. I was like taken off guard by some events that happened, and I liked that. I liked being surprised. Some of the stuff that happens in this book was a little bit hard to understand. Some of the time travel rules, I guess you would call them rules, and what exactly they were doing with the time travel. I don't want to say too much about it, but like time history memories are being like erased by different countries. In the present time, it's the Cold War, so we're like the US and the Russians, they're going into this space where memories are like held and trying to eliminate memories. They're trying to get rid of them, and our protagonist is trying to save memories because she sees them as something beautiful and doesn't really understand why both sides. It starts with the Germans, the Nazis erasing memories. They erase like her father's memories, so she sees like how sad, how awful it is for someone's memories to be like completely erased. So she's saving these memories that the Nazis are first destroying, and then the Russians, and then also the United States. And the CIA is now after her because they don't want her to continue to save memories. It's super interesting. I thought the concept was really cool. Good book, very good book. So we did get a 5-star. I do regret not reading a horror, but the Stephen Graham Jones, I would rather read another book from more of these genres. Like, there are other books I want to read than to, sorry, there's a plane, than to read a book just to check off that genre. And I feel like this video kind of needs to end. So we'll see if I pick up more books from the Goodreads nominee list, because like I've said, more of the sci-fi books look really interesting, and some of the fiction, actually, I'm in line to read a few of them from Libby. We'll see if I get to them before the end of the month. But I had fun making this video. It's a long video, I know, but I had so much fun making this last year and really wanted to do it this year as well. So I read 5 out of the 6 I planned to read, and really 5.5. And I will be showing more of my journal spread, like me working on this in my next video, because this video is too long to show more of my journal. So it'll be in the next vlog. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed me talking about and reading the books from the Goodreads nominee list. If you don't know what to comment below, well, let me know if you are reading any of these books, if you were excited about the list, or if you agree or disagree with me. If not, let's do a trophy for the Goodreads Choice Award, like it's in the logo on Goodreads, a little like trophy. And I think the first round closes in like 2 days because it's the 21st. So I'm really curious to see what advances, and maybe I'll read some that advance. But that'll be all for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.